Martin, let's start up where we left off yesterday. How about that? Okay? So yesterday, you told me I was the real perpetrator, you were the real victim, even though you literally have no evidence of that. None. And I have a page full of video evidence, text evidence, audio evidence that not only are you not only are you violently preying on me and stalking me with just all this real world evidence, but you've been doing it to the women in this house for 10 years. You have no evidence. None. So technically, Martin, that's called delusion, right? It's just in your head. It's just in your head that you're the victim and I'm the perpetrator. There's no evidence for it whatsoever. In fact, the evidence all significantly says the reverse. Okay? That's point one. Another place where you are hugely delusional, and this is common, Martin. You are a common example of what I call the garden variety male sociopaths. And there's just way too many of them, and they should have no power at all because they're insane. Anyway, the second example of your delusion is that, and again, this happened yesterday, you told me that I should be nice to you, that for some reason, because I'm educated, that means I need to be nice to someone who is nothing, absolutely nothing, but despicable and vile and criminal, right? So, and then I sort of brought up the concept of reciprocity, right? Like, you get what you put out in the world, and you put out nothing but disgusting, vile nonsense, aggressive violence, and I mean, I have endless evidence of this, and for some crazy reason, you think that what you should receive in return from me and from those behaviors is some, like, nice, like I should be nice. And that's just insane, Martin. It's just completely delusional and insane. Okay, that's point two. And this is common. This is also very common with your garden variety male sociopaths, which are everywhere. Point three, actually, another delusional quality of yours, is that you think you're smarter than me. And there's really in fact, the evidence cuts so strongly against that. And once more, it's just pure delusion on your part. You show me that you have enough of a mind that can process that you have some degrees. And okay, that's like kind of standard, right? That's like, I'm guessing, I'm just going to put your IQ roughly around 80. I thought it was lower, but I think that's more it's hard to discern because you don't think well as a sociopath. Your processor, but that doesn't necessarily mean your processor is lower. It might mean that, but I think you're probably around an average IQ. Let's say 80, okay? You have no CV. I mean, you have nothing that you've accomplished, and like, there's just no comparison to me. None. And yet you think in your mind with zero evidence, in fact, so much cutting in the opposite direction, that you're smarter than me. That's also a common feature of what I call the garden variety male sociopath. These delusions. And we know they're delusions because there's so much evidence saying you're wrong and zero evidence, real world evidence saying you're right? But you still believe this. So how is that happening? How is it, that you have a processor, your mind, which seems to be, average, right? It should be able to add things up, to think clearly, but yet you can't. And here's my hypothesis, because I've been looking at this pretty damn closely. So when a human baby is born, their brain is not fully developed. Not by a long way, actually. It takes, we roughly say, I mean, obviously a human brain kind of develops throughout its lifetime because we're always, depending on what kind of person you are making the choices to grow and learn, then it's possible for your brain to grow. But the formative stages of a human baby's brain are 0 to 3. We call these the critical years. And so a human baby is born with an underdeveloped brain, and these 0 to 3 years outside the womb are critical for the neural pathways that sort of lays the foundation for adults the rest of their lives. So again, so little research has been put here, and that really needs to change. But we know that the 0 to 3 years is laid, the quality of the neural pathways in these 0 to 3 years of the baby, where the brain is sort of coming into its fully developed state, is laid by the quality of the relationship of the mother to the child. And there's a word for that we call attunement. And it's crazy how little research has been done on what is happening in these 0 to 3 years. But my hypothesis is that something in the patriarchy, something in this horrific system that we're living in, teaches these little baby boys to stop thinking, to just choose to stop thinking. And that's actually how I think sociopaths like you develop. Like early on in this 0 to 3 years, somehow this patriarchal systemic disruption teaches our boys especially, and maybe our girls sometimes, but definitely our boys, to stop thinking. And so you unconsciously learned to just stop using your mind when it comes to things you don't want to see, right? And you don't even know you're doing it, but you just stop thinking. And that's how those 3 delusions, and those are the primary ones, but there's others, but that's how those 3 delusions that are part of being a sociopath arrive, because you learned as an infant to stop thinking when it got to something you just didn't want to know. And, here's the thing, right? I mean, the kind of one of the primary things of being a human being is thinking, logic, reason, right? So because something happens to some of our boys, and quite a few, I'm afraid, where they learn to stop thinking when it comes to something they don't want to know, they kind of have lost their humanity. And that's a part of the reason sociopaths, when we really see them, we feel a deep repulsion, because you aren't fully human when you're not using your mind to think. And sociopaths learn early on to stop thinking when they're coming to something they don't want to know. And we kind of see this also in our faiths, especially our patriarchal faiths like Christianity and Islam. And actually, I'd like to know, Martin, were you raised as a Christian? Was your mother a Christian? It'd be good for me to know. Were you raised as a Christian, or was your mother a Christian? No? Nah. Anyway, we need a lot more research on this. Obviously, this is just one example here. But in Christianity and Islam, you are intentionally told to stop using your mind, right? I mean, I hear Christians say this all the time, Muslims. I don't question anything because I have this book, and it's like a book that was written roughly 2,000 years ago, and B, especially if it's the Christian book, more than half of it was just appropriated from Judaism, right? It's not even their book. And we have Jews have a very different relationship to our holy book than the Christians. We don't submit to our God. We confront our God, which is the right approach. But like Christians are taught, my thoughts just need to be subjugated to this ancient book where more than half of it was stolen from another faith. And it's insane, right? And I mean, which came first? Did the religion come first that taught, that somehow infected our children, our boys, with this stop thinking thing, which leads to double thinking? It's profoundly evil. There's absolutely nothing good about stopping yourself from thinking. Nothing good about it. It's profound evil. It is dehumanizing. But which came first? We don't know. Did this Christianity come first, which taught these Christians to stop thinking, or was it that before that our baby boys were being taught somehow to not think, and then the religion came out of it? We just don't know. But we do know something, and that is that men like you should have no power at all. You are incapable of thinking clearly. You are dangerous. in fact. You should have no power at all. You are murdering women. You are hurting women, especially. And there are way too many of you.